This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Mac and Jack Show. I'm Jamie Paye, or Jamie Pags. Wow, I went ahead and said my whole last name and everything. It must be a slow day today. Jamie Pags, the Philly sports guy, with Mac in between, and Jack Hurst, Hall of Fame boxing writer. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey, good morning, fellas.
Good morning. How you all doing?
Yeah, we were talking off the air and saying how today was a fairly slow yesterday was a fairly slow sports day, that this sometimes will happen during the dog days of summer. And of course, Jack wanted to talk about basketball. He wanted to talk about basketball, that he thinks that basketball is a good topic to talk about during the summer, because there's so much that happens in the world of basketball. And he brings up my favorite guy, Russell Westbrook. So we're going to lead off with that today, because I'm just so excited to hear what's going on in the world of Russell Westbrook. Westbrook. That I'm sure I'm probably going to get sued now because I discredited his name. But anyways.
Let me tell you, he might become a Philadelphia 76er, so then you're going to be changing your tune. If that happens, we don't want to hear about boring news like Bryce Harper rejoining the Phillies. Okay, we don't want.
Oh, really? That's boring. But talking about Westbrook,
it's like the subway. One person gets off the train, the other gets on. Zach Wheeler, their ace pitcher, supposedly he's on the injured reserve now as Harper's coming back. So, we hear it's the old news back and forth. I mean, talk to me a little more about the Phillies as we get closer to the playoffs. The Eagles are great to talk about them, but they need an off day. They need an off day from practice. If they can get an off day, why can't we get an off day from talking about the Eagles? But now the NBA's creeping up on us. The NBA season begins in 6 weeks approximately, or thereabouts. Yep. I mean, so now's the time we start peeking and thinking. And the talk at Lakerland is, what are they going to do with Russell Westbrook? It's crunch time.
Does anybody even care about the Lakers anymore?
LeBron is on the Lakers. Everyone always wants to see LeBron on the news. Lakers got to make their move. They picked up loudmouth Patrick Beverley. Okay? So now that forces the Lakers' hand. What are they going to do with Russell Westbrook? Talk is they're just going to give him his unconditional release. Don't believe it. He's making $47 million a year, Pags. No one wants to eat $47 million a year. He's going to wind up somewhere.
He ain't going to wind up in Philly, because we ain't got the money for that. And why would you want to give anybody $47 million who can't shoot the rock? He's soft. He's straight soft. He is straight soft anyways. You want to get under his skin, call him Westbrook. All of a sudden, I can't deal with this. I can't shoot the rock. I'm too old. Come on. This is so – first off, the fact that we're even talking about the NBA is ridiculous. It's August. It's August. We're not even at Labor Day yet. Secondly, nobody cares about the Lakers, because that team is like, first off, they have guys on the team that are your age, Jack. They're your age. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's no chance that the Lakers are even going to be relevant again this year. It's
called veteran leadership. That's how it's defined as.
Is that what they had last year when they playoffs? They had veteran leadership.
Well, they had veteran injuries, Anthony Davis being hurt. That was a key thing. But now the offense is going to run through Anthony Davis. Imagine that. If LeBron isn't your main scorer, that's going to be firepower for them. And, we'll see how I'm not saying the Lakers are going to win the NBA title. We'll hold off on our predictions. But there are a lot of storylines, over here. But it's interesting where Russell Westbrook might wind up. My guess is, okay, and this is a long-range prediction because no one has any idea, he's going back to OKC. You want to know why? Because unlike you, Pax, they're sentimental. Mac isn't too.
Yeah, they remember the good old days when he
Mac
didn't
is
win there either.
like, oh, no, because he stuck with them, and they mutually moved on from Westbrook. You know, after the period, they weren't going to go to the playoffs with him and Paul George. But when Durant left OKC, Westbrook stood loyal to them. So they kind of remembered that. They don't have bad vibes, the OKC fans, towards Westbrook the way they have towards Durant. Also, what do you think of Charles Barkley? He called Durant a hater. He said, no, he called him a miserable person. Charles Barkley called Durant a miserable person. He said Durant had the whole town of OKC loving him, and he still left. He was with 2 championship teams with the Warriors, and he still left. And Brooklyn gave him everything he wanted, and he wanted to leave. He said Durant can never leave, never be happy, no matter where he is. So Barkley is going after Durant. So that should make for a fun season, the drama. Because one thing about Durant, he answers back. He sees everything on Twitter. I'm careful not to say anything bad about Durant because he might answer back on this show.
Yeah.
You know what? We could only be so hopeful that he gets it. And since you guys are Nets, since you're a Nets fan, well, we should get him on the show. I would love to talk to him a little bit. I want to hear what his take is about Ben. I want to hear how he feels about going into the season this year with Ben Simmons as the guy who's going to probably be the point guard. You're going to have Kyrie as the shooting guard, unless they're going up into Toronto, where they're not going to be able to really have Kyrie for that. And is Simmons really going to play? Is he going to play? Is he going to be able to do all this? You know, because I don't think he's playing either.
Are going to happen at the end of this next season. That's my forecast. 3 things are going to happen. 1, Kevin Durant is going to be named the league MVP. Ben Simmons is going to be named the comeback player of the year. And
you want to bet?
Irving,
yeah, I'll take whatever money you want to lose, Jack. I can do that right away.
From the Nets. Those 3 things.
First off, the Nets are going to get out of Brooklyn here very soon because they're not going to even be anything good. Here's a hot take for you. Going back to the Lakers, the Los Angeles Kings will have more wins than the Los Angeles Lakers.
Sacramento Kings.
No, I'm talking about the Los Angeles hockey team. The Los Angeles Kings will have more wins than the Lakers. And you know they had only like 20 wins last year, the Kings. They're going to have more wins than the Lakers this year.
You're dizzy. You're sounding like those guys on ESPN comparing 2 different sports. Like who's a greater player, Tom Brady and Michael Jordan? You can't measure it, but this is what these guys do. I mean, they can't find a viable topic, so they make up stuff like in fantasy land. I mean, what am I going to say? Who is greater at their peak, Jack Nicklaus and Muhammad Ali? I mean, come on.
I'm just talking about in the hierarchy of LA sports, which I could care less about in a little bit. You have the Dodgers, then you have the Clippers, then you'll have the Kings, then you'll have the Angels, then you'll have the Lakers.
Right.
That's the hierarchy of LA sports right there for you. Dodgers, then Clippers.
They got the Super Bowl champion Rams. They have the Rolls-Royce team of baseball, the LA Dodgers. Is Rolls-Royce guy still the top car? What, am I living in the dark ages? What's the top car today?
There's lots of them. I don't know. The Rolls-Royce is the handmade car, so I guess you could go with that.
I can go with that. And they got the Lakers, who won an NBA title not that long ago, but are the most.
Yeah, that was the year that they were all in the bubble, and they needed to do something. So those games were all scripted. It was easier for LeBron to win.
But it's a great storyline. Best play in LA. That's a great question too. We keep looking at teams. Is it Aaron Donald? Is it LeBron James? Who's the best player in LA? Someone on the Dodgers? I don't know.
I guess you could probably say Mookie Betts. Out of everybody off the list, my thoughts would be that Mookie Betts would be the best player in LA across all sports. Right
Mookie
now.
Betts
Right
is
now.
super
Right now. I'm not
fine.
talking about like in current. I'm not talking about past performance.
Mookie Betts, he's not having a breakout year this year. He's just having a solid year. Last I saw,
Yeah, the same as he did last
definitely.
year and the year before and the year before. I mean, I guess you could call it Freddie Freeman, but I don't think he's been in LA
Well,
long
Freddie
enough.
Freeman's having a better year offensively. I mean, different positions, first baseman as opposed to outfielder. So an outfielder's defense is always considered slightly more valuable, but that's a good question in itself. We've always underrated how important the defense is for first baseman. I think as time goes by, we're going to get to appreciate it a little more. I
I
mean, the
don't think
difference.
anybody cares about defense at first baseman, and that's because really, ultimately, a guy who did okay at first base normally, Keith Hernandez wins 9 Gold Gloves. That's because
Oh,
he was the
stop.
best of a bad bunch. He
He
was
won
the best of a
11,
bad
11
bunch.
gold
Oh,
gloves.
stop it already, Pags. We all
He was
know
the
that.
best of a bad bunch. That's just because first nobody cared about first base. You just
We
all you gotta do
all
is catch the ball. Can't throw the ball. Can't else. All you can do is you're a big guy and you catch the ball.
There was
we
this
all
player. Yeah.
we all know Keith Hernandez is one of the best first basemen in the history of baseball, and you can even put Lou Gehrig in there. But I'm telling you right now, Pags, if I'm starting a team, Keith Hernandez is definitely my first baseman. There's no doubt about that.
You think he's better than Pete Rose? Because Pete Rose is a first baseman.
Pete Rose primarily played
Third, right?
third during his
Yeah.
prime. Yeah, with
Yeah.
the big red machine.
Yeah.
And the reason he played first with the Phillies, they had Mike Schmidt there.
Right.
And also, when you get a little bit older, you tend to, they move guys off short, certainly shortstop and third base if possible. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes they move them to the outfield.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. When Chuck Knobloch with the Yankees had a throwing problem, they moved him to left field. Even though defense is important in the outfield, something about the infield diving for balls, making the turn, it's hard to play it at an advanced stage. I mean, look at Derek Jeter, for example. When he got older, he was losing a certain mobility. You lose the ability to dive. You're not as athletic anymore. You need that athleticism, especially, when you're in the infield, like turning the double play. I mean, hard thing to do. But, they put more value on a third baseman than a first baseman because a third baseman has to make the throws, to first base. But what about the first baseman that's got to stretch out for the ball, scoop the ball up? They don't look at him
So tough to do. Wow, wow, wow. You know what I mean? That's hey, listen, they did that in Moneyball. They got this guy who never played first base before in his life, and they made him play first base. And it's
by
simple.
the time the year
That's
was
right.
over, he was no longer at first base. O'Neill Cruz, a Pittsburgh Pirate rookie, he hit a ball off the bat that went over 122 miles per hour. Okay? And it's getting crazy the way they measure everything. A guy could get cut from a team because the velocity of the ball off his bat isn't as quick as someone else's. But think of it, 122 miles per hour. I mean, it's coming at you and the infield is playing in. I mean, that's scary from that distance.
That's close to tennis, right? They can serve the ball about 120, 130 miles an hour.
Yeah,
It's normally kilometers an hour. So
Right.
That's a little different there. That's when they get up that high, but it's still fast. That ball is moving pretty quick at 105, 110, because that's what it really comes out to when they go like 122, 130, 130 kilometers per hour. That's still pretty fast. That all being said, going back to Keith Hernandez, because I have Dave here asking who was the best first baseman of all time.
Keith Hernandez.
Get out of here. Come on. Mets, first off, and the Mets, it had Buckner not dropped the ball, he wouldn't have even won that series. So I don't want to hear it. He really won one World Series with a team where he was the afterthought. He was an afterthought on that Mets team. He was afterthoughts on these teams. They needed to have somebody at first base, and he was the guy. So wow. He wasn't even that good, and he cheated, took PEDs. He ain't going into the Hall of Fame. I don't know what anybody was shooting up on my butt. You know what I mean? Come on.
Let me tell you. I mean, you're just mad over what he said about the Phillies
I don't
and
get mad.
and the city of Philadelphia in general, indirectly, even though he didn't say it, what he meant.
No.
He just doesn't like going to Philadelphia. He
That's
just
good because
doesn't
we don't
like-
want him here. We
he
don't want
doesn't
him
like
here.
the Phillies,
We
he
don't
doesn't
like
like
cheaters
the
that
Phillies.
come here.
Let
Yeah.
me remind you. Listen, I'll explain it this way. A movie that took place in Philadelphia, Rocky 1. Remember Gazzo, the bodyguard who was Rocky's? No, I mean the guy who owned the business where you break guys on. The collector, the head. Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. He liked Rocky. He obviously knew Rocky when they were in high school. He was his buddy. They went different ways. Rocky was a collector for him. But Gazzo's driver/bodyguard didn't like Rocky, would always insult him. Rocky went to fight with him. Gazzo talked with Rocky in the side. He said, some guys hate for no reason. Okay, that's Hernandez with the Phillies. Some guys just hate for no reason.
Way to bring it back.
Hates Philadelphia for no reason. So, let him go. He doesn't like the fans there, the way they play ball. He just doesn't want to know from Philadelphia. He doesn't want to get in an argument. He just doesn't want to cover the Philly games. It's a sloppy.
Guess what? I hope he doesn't cover it when we see them in the championship. When we go to the National League Championship and we're against them, I don't want him in town. I don't want him in town at all. And if he comes to town, I'm waiting for him to get off the train, and I'm going to start throwing whipped cream pies at him. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show him back. I'm going to start embarrassing him right away. Show every error that he's ever had. Every time he struck out swinging ridiculously. Like I said.
That ain't many errors you're going to talk about there because
there's enough. There's plenty out there. There's plenty out there. He
was a vacuum.
Yeah, like I said, he was the best of a bad bunch. He was the best of a bad bunch during a time when there wasn't many people out there playing first base well. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. You were a big doofus who played first base most of the time. That's what happens. When they don't know where else to put you because you're too slow, you're too fat, you can actually get around and get around on a 98-mile-per-hour pitch. That's what it was. That's what it was. Like I said, the Mets wouldn't have even won that World Series if it wasn't for Buckner screwing it up. So let's think about blame Buckner more. Yes, he was better than Buckner. He was better than Buckner.
Was that the last game, Pags? I don't think it was the last game. I think they played one more after that. Yeah.
That's okay. Right. That's fine.
And I'd love for someone to break down very carefully. Would Mookie Wilson have beaten Buckner to first base had Buckner fielded the ball? There's an element of doubt there.
Not even a little bit.
Listen, the game was tied. If Buckner fielded the ball and gotten the out, the game would have gone to extra innings. So it didn't.
And I'm sure the Red Sox would have won. The Red Sox win that series if Buckner doesn't screw it up. That's end all be all. Here, let's bring in Byron and see what he's got to say about this.
All right, Byron. Let's see.
Good morning.
Good morning, Byron. How you doing?
Morning. I'm doing good.
Hey, we're putting you in for the president of the union now, since the other guy's stepping down. So be ready. We're gonna have a bunch of people behind you.
Man, I tell you what, I would be on the show every week with somebody special, so that'll be good.
I just want to ask.
Hey, listen. Well, we already announced the retirement of the guy with the NFLPA, and I already put in my nomination.
Yes,
Marcus Smith. Yeah. I'm only committed to replace him. So
there you go.
To find a replacement.
So you're on the short list already. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
We're gonna be sending in our. I have a clip of all your best moments here in the Northeast Streaming Sports that we could send in to show how well of a speaker you are, how much you're committed to these players, and so that we could do everything that we can here on this network.
Well, I tell you what, we got one of the best sports writers on the show. That's for sure. So hey, I learned a lot from Jack.
Yes.
Yeah, what's it? Troy Vincent. I was sitting next to him. Well, not next to him. I was at the same table right before the pandemic at the Boxing Writers Association of America's award banquet. I had my photo taken with him, actually. Should have talked to him throughout the night, but I think I was a little too full of myself. I thought I was like a big shot type guy that they should come to me and start talking. I realized later maybe I should have initiated a little more conversation.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing about being at a place. You learn something almost every time you go somewhere. So
Good point.
But the best of Byron, if you're going to have a clip, should go back to last season where he picked the Arizona Cardinals to win it all. I'd like to see that clip dug out.
Hey, for the first 11 or 12 weeks, I was looking pretty good.
Yeah,
Yes.
you were at that point.
So, real quick, Byron, I'm going to change the topic a little bit because nobody cares about basketball, even though Jack wants to continually bring it up over and over again. Yesterday, the two Super Bowl teams played in a practice, and they had a big scuffle. And he saw Aaron Donald swinging a helmet pretty profoundly. Like this wasn't a little tap. He was full end swinging that helmet, a Bengals helmet, against other players. Are we to expect that there's going to be maybe a suspension coming down the line?
It probably would be because they was creating these practice during preseason, to create teams quit going against each other in training camp, and I think it got to be some kind of consequences because you don't want this to generate and it just very disruptive. And I think football is football. It's supposed to be a gentleman's sport. It's supposed to create sportsmanship. And that's really what you don't want because you're not there to try to hurt each other. You're there to compete and to win and to establish some camaraderie of what football this game teaches you about life too. So
yeah, agree 100%, Byron.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you, Myles Garrett was suspended for 4 games.
right,
That's a heavy-duty suspension, and I never felt he should have gotten such a severe suspension because Mason Rudolph was coming at him. It's inexcusable. You can't whack a guy on the head with your helmet, okay? Because Mason Rudolph, he didn't have his helmet on at the time. I think it came off, if I'm not mistaken. And because Mason Rudolph was coming at him, that's kind of just an instinctive reaction. You're defending yourself. Maybe you're going a little overboard. But I thought Mason Rudolph assumed some of the responsibility, and he got off without any type of suspension. Then Myles Garrett accused Mason Rudolph of calling him a word, which I doubt that Mason Rudolph did that. The league couldn't uncover. No one could uncover anything he did.
right.
And I think Myles Garrett kind of regretted saying that later on because when the two teams met after that, when the game was over, he ran across the field to shake, Mason Rudolph's hand.
Yeah.
But the point is this: 4 games for Myles Garrett, and now you're going to overlook, what Aaron Donald did, and the season's about to begin.
Right.
Imagine how can you not suspend Aaron Donald for 1 game just based on suspending another guy for 4? It's a sticky situation. I think the league is going to be quiet on this, hoping it doesn't gather any publicity, any steam. Then they can overlook it. But if people are debating this the way we are now, then the league might have to react. My guess is they're going to come in with a fine because it wasn't a game, it was a practice. But to me, it's essentially the same thing. But with that said, it shouldn't have been that severe suspension, in my opinion, on Myles Garrett to begin with.
Yeah, and I agree with you totally. But one of the things you got to always remember, this game is played around preparing players to get established for the youth and probably have a good example for young kids as well, and high school kids. Because if you go around and you look at the college kids, high school kids, and youth football, they emulate everything that the NFL is trying to do. So you still got to set a good precedent to what these kids and these guys got to understand. You're setting an example. So you got to have these rules and things established in place to make sure that these players understand. At the end of the day, it's not about swinging and not about fighting. It's about just learning and playing the game the way the game was meant to be played because of so many things that interact in the game. So I think Aaron Donald needs to probably be suspended for a game or two, and at least because You know, I don't care how good you are, and you're one of the elite top 5 players in the league. You got to set the example on and off the football field.
And he had 4 swings with that helmet. 4. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4. He finally got pushed over, and then some of the Rams people got in the way of that. So that was a hell of a lot more than what happened with Myles Garrett. I don't think that he should get off that easy with just 1 game suspension. He should get at least 4 and possibly 6. And it's his own fault for doing so. It's his own fault for doing so. That is a whole safety issue. Keep all the CTE stuff.
Maybe the whole year, Pax. Maybe the whole year. I mean, you know, you guys send a message. You can't just let people go around swinging helmets at people. I mean, imagine if a fan was on the field and he did that. Holy God, there would have been police all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. And then we need to stop it right now. It needs to stop. It's just one of the things that football does not need. We already got a lot of other things that's really affecting the game. But, you know, at the end of the game, it's about, you know, creating a good fan base and a good product on and off the field. I mean, these people are paying money to get in these games and things. So, you know, you deserve going in and watching good competition.
Yeah. Well
right. And like I said, of course, this was only a practice. So it would have probably gone under the radar for the most part if it wasn't reported by Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, I mean, I feel that somebody's going to have to come down. They're going to have to come down pretty severe on him. This is the second time that this has happened in 3 years' time with this helmet type of swinging the helmet, and especially with everybody concerned about heads. They've been wearing the Q-tips on their helmets to try to protect
the Guardian cap.
And now you've got one of the premier defensive guys just swinging it out recklessly. I really feel that they should suspend him.
Guys, I didn't see the tape. Was he directly trying to hit someone with the helmet, or was he just swinging?
Yes, he hit people. I could bring it up here. I could bring it up here right now. Give me a second, and I'll
they
share.
Coming at him, or was he just swinging it?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Jack. How it came
coming
about.
At him, it's different. It's a reaction trying to defend yourself.
Oh, Jesus.
It's different if they're moving towards him. That's why I thought Myles Garrett, the suspension was a little too severe, because Mason Rudolph was moving in on him, trying to get him. He wasn't moving after Mason Rudolph. That was my feeling.
What are you supposed to do? Run? I mean, the guy's got a helmet. He's coming at you. What are you going to do? You going to run away from him?
No. Were they coming at Aaron Donald? That's what I want to know.
Yes.
Was he just countering, basically?
I'm going to share the screen, and let's see if I can pull it up here.
All right.
Aaron Donald fight.
Okay.
Share this.
Or you could take another approach. You could just, let's see this.
See it swinging that helmet? 3 or 4 swings at it. Now this is coming directly from Twitter. We're not affecting any copyright laws. That's the best I can show. You can find it on Twitter. All you have to do is search for Aaron Donald fight.
Not clear.
Unfortunately, yeah, I know it's not the best there. But all you have to do is go to Twitter and go to Aaron Donald fight. You could probably go right to YouTube and find it right now. He literally, the guy who took the video was all over the place. Obviously, he's staring at the ground. He's not paying attention. He was too busy watching the fight than showing the video. So that's what happened there. But ultimately, you saw 4 swings of that helmet from Aaron Donald. And when he got pushed to the ground, he still had the helmet in his hand. And it wasn't
Aaron Donald. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he got pushed to the ground.
Oh,
because
so then he
after swinging 4 times, after the 4th swing, he got pushed to the ground. And he connected on a couple of those swings.
I want to know something. Now that maybe we should have a little sympathy, because he is a Super Bowl MVP, so everyone was after him. He was a marked man. So maybe give Aaron Donald a little slack here.
Yeah. We'll give him a little
Yeah, I'll
slack.
give him a little slack. And
Maybe
instead of going
call him
8 games,
in.
I'll give him 6.
If I'm the commissioner, maybe I call him in and I just say, Aaron, we can't have this. It's bad for the image of our league. If it happens again, we're going to be forced to take action. Maybe have him issue an apology. Byron, an apology coming from Aaron Donald.
Apology, and then some game suspension is probably what needs to happen, because I mean you just got to do something about this.
Right. So, and this is a John Runyon thing, correct? John Runyon falls under player safety.
Yeah.
So this is going to wind up on his desk.
Yeah, John Runyon. I talked to John quite a bit, so I might call him and ask him. I got his number, and John Runyon and I go way back. But yeah, I might need to see what he thinks too, and then get back and see if there's something that I can report to you guys as well.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, because like I said, I think that's going to be really important, especially because of all the things that they're talking about with their heads, and to have a player. And I don't care what player it is that does this.
Right.
And Dominic Sue wound up getting suspended for being, a dumbass himself, when he was kicking players and stomping on players and things like that. This is much worse. This is much more egregious. And this is done with intent to injure. Yeah. And that's the problem. That's the problem with this. It's like you could say that in the course of the accident, him stomping on somebody, it was just like, oh, yeah, I had a momentary lapse of reason. This was an intent to injure, and that's what I have the biggest problem with this whole situation.
And it really messes up the scheme of things for the NFL. You try to coordinate these practices before the preseason game, so the players won't get redundant on practicing against each other, and creating this environment to where now you're going to see other players are competing hard against other players, but not just to start these types of fights and things like that. This is ridiculous.
Byron, I think they should do away with these scrimmages, because so many players are taking it like it's a game. It's so competitive.
Stop it.
But these fights are happening all the time. All the time we hear about it.
Well, that's part of the game. You're gonna have fights. That's just part. It's one of those games that we've been. You fight in practice against your own teammates. So sometimes players are carrying. It's a lot of frustration playing this game, and then you got family issues off the field, and then you got mental problems during the week. So it's just a constant battle that it's a grind that these guys got to understand that that's part of what they have to put up with. But you still got to control yourself at the end of the day.
And let's put it away that preseason is not for anybody to learn something. That this is for the coaches, this is for the players, this is for all the special coaches. I'm trying to think of the name for the coaches that work directly with the players. This is for all of them, guys. I mean, we're not talking about flag football here. We're talking about actual, hitting football. And you cannot stress how important this is to the overall scheme of football.
Yeah, because you do have guest coaches, and you have interim coaches there, and interim administrators. There's a lot of people come to the training camp, for all different places, just to learn the whole concept of the game on the next level. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Sean Spencer,
and the NFL literally pushing this purposely because they want to have these week-long practices between teams, because they're going to go to two preseason games. So they want to be able to have competition longer than just those 2 games. And that's why they are pushing for NFL teams to combine practices. And that's going to be part of what happens as they move forward to go to an 18-game schedule, because that's coming. That is absolutely coming. And they're going to wind up having, so it's going to be 2 preseason games over the month of August, and you're going to have week-long practices, not just 2 days, like week-long practices, because they want to be able to kind of, like I said, get these guys prepared for a very long schedule at 18 games.
Yeah. And another thing too, we added 5 more practice roster players, so they can have 15 players on the practice roster now too as well. And then it doesn't matter if you're a first year or second year player, you can be whatever. They can always have you on the practice roster.
All right.
What is that cutoff right now? Is it 4 years? After 4 years of being in the league, you're no longer allowed to be on the practice roster.
Right now, they don't have anything on it right now. They were saying that they can allow teams to be able to utilize the practice roster the way they want to versus how many years you played.
Right.
But that's also a free agent pool, correct?
Yeah.
I didn't know that someone could be on. I mean, so you're saying a guy could be on the practice roster indefinitely? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not
Is
saying that they can be on the practice
baseball?
roster indefinitely. It doesn't matter how many years you have played, that they can move around guys on the practice roster. And of course, you're always going to have the injury reserve list too. So that's in the PUP, the players list that they have to distinguish certain players that's been injured, having mental problems, on drug-related issues and things like that. So they got these different lists that they can utilize now to keep players that they think that they need on their roster, need on the team.
Byron, I would think for some guys, a very small amount, they'd be happy to be on the practice roster. They're not getting hit during the week. They're getting a paycheck, health insurance, and they get a limited amount of practice. They're basically an insurance policy. That's what they are there. So I think it's a good thing actually to have. And a practice squad is the equivalent of boxing, someone being a sparring partner. You work with the champ, you pick up your money, but it's easier in the sense that you're not getting hit.
And a good thing too, other teams can come in and acquire and try to get those players in case somebody get hurt on your team. You can go in and try to get a player that you're interested in on the practice roster and activate them on your roster. So it's really a good thing for the players, I think.
Is there anybody who's on the practice roster who can be considered protected? Is there like a protect allowed to keep 3 protected and the other 12 are free agents? Or is it everybody who's on a practice roster? If they're on the practice roster, they're unprotected and any team can come in and grab them?
I think if you're on the practice roster, you still unprotected. It's just that the team still have the first right to protect you in a way that they don't want to let you go. So they can always activate that guy on their active roster and make some moves or make another player, so put the other player on the injury reserve. So there are different schemes, different plan of action that you can take on your team to protect if you like a player that you don't want to lose.
Got you. So it's almost like a regular waiver wire in baseball where you could pull back and be like, okay, we're going to trade you rather than just let you go.
And, a lot of teams sometimes put players on the waiver wire just to see who's interested in these players anyway. So they've been doing that's for years. So there's different dynamic schemes and plans of action that you can take just to see if these players are being interested by another team or another resource or things like that. So there's things that they do anyway just to see, if somebody interested in a trade or something like that. So they'll put you on the waiver line or put you on the trade line, and then they just to see who would be interested in any particular player anyway.
Could a coach use the practice squad for disciplinary reasons for just 1 week? An example, let's say when Antonio Brown lost it, he took off his shirt. Let's say for whatever reason, the coach didn't want to cut him, thought it's only Antonio being Antonio. He did a dumb thing. And for 1 week, they humble him. They put him on the practice squad where he knows he can't play the next week, but he's got to work hard with the practice squad for that week, keep his mouth shut, kind of as a discipline thing. And then the following week, put him back on the active roster. Can it be used for that, like for 1 week for discipline purposes?
It probably could, but in his case, no, because he just don't get it. And in my opinion, I think that those type of players you really don't want on your team. I mean, that's why he's not on the roster right now. Got all the talent in the world. I think these players need to understand the concept of the game of football. I mean, you're never gonna be bigger than the game, so why act that way? So I mean, that he's right where he what's the way he's supposed to be. So I wouldn't even. I think teams shouldn't even tolerate that type of display and attitude, and this game wasn't set up for that. So these players got to understand that it's not about you; it's about the whole concept of what you're trying to sell to the public.
To change the subject really quick for 1 second, I was talking about getting together a flag football a tournament here in Connecticut where you and Jim pick teams. I'd be there, and some of the NFL greats would be there, and we'd have a flag football game like I've seen on TV before. What do you think about that, Byron?
I like that. I like that because I think that's I'll be you talking about me coaching?
Yeah, you could play too.
I would love that. I'll tell you what, my team would beat Jim because I got so many dynamic plays in my mind. Jim can even hit. I pick some of the worst talents out there and still beat Jim.
Yes.
Why couldn't you do this when I was younger, Mac? Because I like to play corner for two-hand touch. I would have shut Byron down.
Oh,
wow. This be done when I was younger.
Wow.
I would have been on Byron.
I would have loved seeing you on that corner.
Coverage.
I would have loved seeing you on that corner. I'm gonna have to send you my picture against Lester Hayes, just so you can see that it's no joke. Once you get inside that 53-yard line, and that square, that rectangle that we'll be playing on, you'll be shaking like a little girl.
First thing I would have done is get in touch with Pags, because Pags studied out how you could get under their skin, how you could rattle players. Pags like to study that out, and I'd know what really got under Byron's skin. And then, then it'd be a cheap shot or two at the end of, certain plays just to get him upset.
There you go.
I ran 3 miles yesterday, so you talking to a guy that's still working out. So
I'm working out too. It's just it's hard to hammy, I don't know when you're getting older. That's why I can't figure out these young guys. When I was young and I ran quick, I never got these hamstring, injuries, nagging. And now that I get older, man, the hamstrings, it's like unbelievable. I don't understand. When you played, it wasn't as big an issue, Byron, around the NFL. Guys with the hamstring injuries. Guys will get hurt, don't get me wrong. But today, everyone is pulling a hammy. My feeling is on the sidelines, guys cool off. I think everyone has to be on the bike. Everyone has to keep moving on the sideline. And I think the muscles get cold.
Yeah.
But I think guys sitting on the bench for like 15 minutes offense while the defense is out there, I think they cool off, and then you line up and you run quick all of a sudden. That's what I think the problem is. It's got to be figured out to keep guys active and their muscles warm.
Well, you're exactly right. They don't stretch as much. It's also about stretching and keeping the muscle warm. That's perfectly exactly what's it. We didn't see all these hamstrings and things, that leg injuries that when we played, because we was in shape. You have to be in shape to play the game.
Yeah, football shape.
So as I am thinking about being GM for one of these teams, I don't care who chooses me as their GM. My first pick.
You don't want me to be your coach. I know that. I know me.
You don't want me? Hey, listen, you want me on your squad. You definitely want me on your squad because not only am I vocal, but I also can catch back up when that ball's in the air. I can be a free safety, and I can definitely converge on a ball and make sure that ball doesn't get caught or intercepted. I can make sure that happens. But that all being said, as I'm going to be the GM, my first pick in the draft would be Terrell Owens. As yesterday, he was shown on video doing a 4.38 40 time. At 48 years old.
It's doctored.
I know.
He didn't really do that.
I thought it was under 4.5. I thought it was under 4.5. So he about a tenth or two slower.
Yeah, well, like I said, it showed. Actually, I read it as he was around 4.4. The actual time was a 4.38.40. You know what I mean? So that's either way. Even if he was at 4.4 at 4.5, that's still pretty good. At 48 years old, and I understand he's been retired for a little while, and that this is not one of those things. But with Brady doing this thing, and a team that's in the playoffs and maybe have a problem at wide receiver with the type of shape that he is in, would you take a flyer?
I would take it for a couple of weeks just to see that we can prove a point, and I think. There's another guy that reminds me that can run like that too, with Darrell Green at his age. Yeah. I think I don't know if he might have learned a lesson. I think you would need a team guy to come in and add more momentum to the team. And if he can come and make a couple of plays, just for history's sake. But I don't know how long it can be sustainable. That's the deal. I don't know how long he can.
Wait, Byron, you wouldn't take Antonio Brown because you feel he's too much of a prima donna, but you would take Terrell Owens. Antonio Brown is more of a team guy than Terrell Owens.
I have hosted 4 or 5 football camps for Terrell. I know the type of person he is. He's a person that will come in and add value to you. So he's not cocky.
Split the damn locker room up. He poisoned the Philadelphia Eagle locker room.
That's when he was immature.
Poison in their ass tags.
That's when he was immature.
Poison.
He was immature. Now he done seen more things. He been coaching. He been guest coaching. He done seen the other side of life. So I would take him. I would take a chance on it. Yes.
Oh, I shut him down. I would shut him down as wide receiver. And I was playing safety. There's no way that man gets by me.
Well,
I would like to see that too, but obviously that's one of those fantasy when we can put it on Madden when we get our likenesses on Madden to go up against Terrell Owens. Let
me get a compromise. Why didn't Terrell Owens play in the USFL? I'm sure that would have helped the ratings. You put him on the USFL team, and I'll be honest about it.
He's a Hall of Fame.
I'm more likely to want to. No, but that's how he proves he can still play.
Let him
right up the USFL, and then he's proving a point.
No,
then he's proving he can play in the NFL. Oh, it's beneath him to play in the USFL.
You got to think only NFL. You don't go to the USFL. He's a Hall of Famer. He don't have
to prove himself. He doesn't have a job in the NFL.
Well, hold on. Stop it. He did play on the 7-on-7s.
Yeah,
he did play on that 7-on-7 league, that fan-controlled league. So it's not like it's beneath him. It's not like it's absolutely beneath him to go to the USFL. I wouldn't. Yeah. In fact, with the way that he just did that run, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't wind up on a team in the USFL. And my thought would be if he's going to go on any team, he'd probably go on Philly, just because he's got that.
Now I can see the light, fellas. Why Byron is talking on Terrell Owens' behalf? Because Terrell Owens was like the equivalent of George Foreman's comeback in boxing. Everyone laughed at an old guy. Then when he won the title, a lot of other old fighters said, well, if George did it, I'm going to try. And you had guys 60 years old wanting to come back. Byron's going to see if Terrell Owens can make his way back. Byron's going to say, well, let me just go to one camp and show what I can do. Him and a few other guys. That's Byron's real motive here.
Yeah. But good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. In 2017, they put me and George Foreman, Eric Dixon in the Black Texas Hall of Fame. I'm going to send you a picture of that because that was so inspirational just to hear George go up there and talk about his comeback. So every player do need a comeback, Jack. So that's a good point.
Well, that's good company, Eric Dickerson, George Foreman. That's good company.
Yeah,
exactly.
That I was in that class, 2017. I'm sending you guys a picture of that.
And Byron,
and that was the Texas Hall of Fame, right? Because that's got to be full body of work since you actually did most of your stuff up in New York, only for those couple of years.
Yeah, it was based off community work and things. Some of the things I did in college, but some of the community stuff that I do as well. So yeah.
And Byron, we got to keep that playbook as simple as possible for those dingbats out there that can't read still for some reason.
Exactly.
So
that's why we got these special X's and O's with the little circle letter, so they'll know exactly what they're supposed to be.
You're right. It's like
Byron. So far, what has been catching your eye the most in this preseason? Any particular team, a player that's all of a sudden standing out? I mean, what's the biggest storyline right now? And then there are number storylines. Is it Brady? Is it Aaron Rodgers with the receivers? I mean, something else. What might it be?
Well, it's exactly. I've been trying to watch practice, and I've been trying to see what the players are doing in the week preparation. Not totally looking at the games, because the games will throw you off, because you don't get the true implementation of what they're doing. So I've been watching quarterbacks, receivers, and things like that. They've been talking about the Dallas Cowboys down here, and I'm so tired of it, because now they got Tyrod Smith getting hurt yesterday, and it's going to be devastating for that offensive line. So Dallas gonna have some problems. They only have one receiver that CeeDee Lamb and of course Dak Prescott. Only one wide receiver that he have really made contact to. So they're gonna have some problems. But I've been looking at the Eagles been playing well. I mean, I have seen some good stuff. I mean, some teams like Atlanta, and we were talking about some of the bottom half teams, Atlanta, the Jets, and now those teams still gonna be suffering. But it's gonna be very unpredictable in a lot of these conferences for the first top 2 to 3 teams, because a lot of teams are gonna be so unpredictable this year. So it's gonna be real interesting to watch. And now that you have these fantasy points with these players, so these players are always trying to create these points and trying to go out there. It's not a team concept like it used to be. So it's a different type of game. So you have to watch a lot of the intangible things that's happening with some of these teams. But I think I saw where Tampa Bay was ranked number 2 behind the Buffalo team in this power rating that just came out too, that Jim and I was talking about. And I can see how Tampa Bay was increased to number 2 behind the Buffalo Bills on the power rating. I just don't. They are rated over the Rams. So I just say that some weird things are happening this year though.
Yeah,
Well,
you got Kansas City, you've got Cincinnati. You still got teams out there that are high-powered offenses, and the rankings should reflect that, right, Byron?
Right. It should. But some of the ranking is, I guess, the defense, because some of these teams got some real good defense. Tampa Bay supposed to have a good defense. Buffalo probably having a good defense. Of course, the Rams have a great defense, and so it's very interesting. Denver got a good defense, so it's very interesting on how these defenses will be able to stand to some of these offense. Of course, in the past, the offensive side of the ball has been having an advantage at the beginning of the season, like the Cardinals did last year. But my point is, you got to consider some of these defenses, and I think like the Chargers going to have a good defense, so it's going to be interesting to see how. And the Eagles supposed to have a good defense, but you're going to always have that injury bug in the middle of some of these things that's happening on the football field.
Right, Mack and Bosa might be the best 1-2 punch, rushing the pass in the NFL. You can make that argument. Getting back with Tampa Bay, they had a pickup that kind of fell under the radar, but could be significant. Julio Jones, okay? Is it possible with Tom Brady that Tom Brady's going to bring out the best in any receiver? Is it possible that Julio Jones could be closer to his prime than not? Everyone's assuming he's way past his prime. But, there's a big difference between Ryan Tannehill and Tom Brady throwing to you. Is it possible Julio Jones shows up and he could be close to the Julio Jones of old? Because if he is, what a pickup that is for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no doubt. And Julio Jones just got to stay healthy. He missed 8 to 10 games last year. And that was really sad with the Titans. But I just think that if he can stay healthy, and of course, Tom Brady gonna throw him some balls that he can probably protect himself more, and have more of a comfort level and not getting the bigger hits. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. And I think that's probably a big plus for Tampa Bay for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because Tom is, like I said, he met the other boyfriend, so he's got this chip on his shoulder, trying to, make sure that he can win back the love of his wife. So he's going to do everything he can, and he's going to need all the help he can get. I actually have them in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles.
That's a tough one, Byron. If you're in his spot and you love the game and you wanted to keep playing it indefinitely, and you're already in your mid-40s, and your wife has been very patient, very loyal with you all the years, but finally enough is enough. You achieved everything you could achieve. You see, with me, this is the way I look at it, at least. Bad is more likely to happen than good if Tom Brady continuing to play. He's been in 10 Super Bowls. If he could squeeze out an 11th one, that would be great, but he could also get injured playing the game. It's precarious. Why not quit when you're ahead? I mean, why quit when you get injured, you're down, your performance slips? You know, I think he's the one guy I'd like to see get out. I think should get out. I think he's ahead of the game, and but he just won't. He's gonna keep playing till the game, I think, finally beat him down.
Well, I think too that he's kind of got a compass to where he can take off 2 weeks and come back and but yeah, you're absolutely right. Sometimes the chapter got to close soon. But I think he still got that one itch that he wants to still do something, and hey, he can do what he want to do. If you can do what you want to do, then do it. And but I just think too that the referees and the whole concept of the game, they're gonna protect him. I think out there on the football field, but this game is still in the hands of some players that's unpredictable. So any and everything can happen on that football field. So yeah, you're right. I think he probably needs to go ahead and say, this is going to probably be it, though, this year.
Yeah. You sure? I mean, because ultimately after this year, he would become a free agent, and then they could go back to Miami and work that whole deal. And then after that, start making $35 million a year for, CBS or...
Wait. If Tua improves, he showed improvement year 2 after year 1. Let's say Tua improves again this year, not by a lot, but you see a better quarterback, a guy ascending. Why would you want to get Tom Brady if the guy you drafted is getting better and better?
Tua could be the MVP, but unless Miami wins the Super Bowl, Tom Brady, if he wanted to go to Miami and be the quarterback, he would do so.
Yes,
absolutely. And
no doubt in my mind.
The owner loved Tom Brady.
Yep. Right.
Ross loved Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So, and we already went over all the high level drama that I did that yesterday. We talked about that yesterday. All the high level drama between Ross and Kraft. I
want to know, Byron. I have a key question to ask Byron. Who would you start? Who do you think is going to win the quarterback competition, and who do you think is going to start? Who'd be the man for you, Geno Smith or Drew Lock with the Seahawks?
Now one of them. I'll go get Jimmy G.
If you could find Jimmy G, you're not going to pay Jimmy G.
I would pay Jimmy G. I just go get him. I'm telling you, if you just can't. Those are backup quarterbacks that you just named. So that's my opinion on that.
So, and if Jimmy G was too expensive, ultimately, I think with a second-round pick or a third-round pick, you could probably pick up Gardner Minshew, who is from that area and would, I think, be a really good quarterback for Seattle. But I think Seattle's going to be tanking this year.
They're going to be tanking. I agree with that. But yeah.
But it's easy to say they're going to be tanking, but they have 2 impact players. Most of the weak teams don't even have 1 impact play. I'm talking about one of the better players in the league. They have one of the best receivers in DK Metcalf and one of the best safeties in Jamal Adams. Those guys are studs. So when you have 2 guys like that, if those guys are truly leaders, they're going to have the rest of the units playing hard, you would think. Because leadership, I think, comes within the locker room with the players much more than the coaches imparting leadership. Byron, you could vouch to that with Harry Carson, LT. As great as Bill Parcells was as a leader, as a coach, the leadership from the players had more of an impact on the other players. Am I correct?
And you know exactly when when you walk in that locker room who the leader was, and they'll let you know your role, and everything was very formatted to where you understood that this is the way we do things around here. And then when those leaders walk through that locker room or walk in that film room, and it's kind of like what Aaron Rodgers did with those rookie receivers this year. You got to set the precedent of what needs to happen and what needs to take place in the momentum of this team. So yeah, you're absolutely right. More teams need to have that in place.
Well,
old school football, Byron. Old school football.
Old school football. It will never die. Old school football would never die.
Byron understands the receivers didn't have to be babied in his day like today. I mean, in this day and age, you got to make nice to them. A guy like Aaron Rodgers is business-like. They got a job to do. They're professionals. He doesn't have to baby them, keep picking them up. Or even Carson Wentz, the receivers would want to find Carson Wentz to talk to him, and it would take them like about a half hour to an hour to pin Carson Wentz down finally. They'd have to go looking for him.
Exactly.
Is that your comeback player of the year, Byron, Carson Wentz?
No.
No?
No.
He's not
There you
going to stick it to the Eagles this
He
year
don't
with the
get it.
Commanders?
He get it. He don't get it. You got to do the little thing. I'll be watching film on Tom Brady, Joe Montana, some guys like that. I'll be watching those types of tapes if I was Carson Wentz just to understand the concept of what he needs to do.
Right. Just
You
he
know,
doesn't have
I'm
he
not
doesn't have the
sure.
conception. He doesn't have the
He
conception about
He
it.
really doesn't. But he got all the talent in the world. I mean, man, what a present. I mean, the big body and got a great arm. It's just some of the little things that he couldn't do. And you never go to the Jaguars and lose to the Jaguars last game of the season. You got to be in control of everything in that time matter. You just don't miss that opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
want to give Mac a lot of credit for predicting the draft with the quarterbacks last year. Everyone was making a big deal about the 5 potential quarterbacks who all drafted in the first round. Mac Jones in 5th. And Mac was looking and he said, this just isn't a good crop. This just, he
Right.
put it down. He was unimpressed. And I think people got caught up. Well, this is the best out there. We got to get this guy, that guy. But Mac wasn't impressed with any of them. And when you look at it, maybe a couple are going to turn out to be good. With Trey Lawrence, he was supposed to be a generational talent. Well, the jury's still out. We have no idea. No idea about Trey Lance. Zach Wilson, I'm nervous about. I'm going to be honest about it with the Jets. I don't want to hear he's their quarterback of the future. I'm nervous. I have serious doubts. Justin Fields, I have serious doubts about him, and he's with a miserable team with the Bears. Mac Jones is going to be solid, not spectacular, but he's going to be, I think, a quality starter going forward, but more as a game manager than a difference maker.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as I see Keith in the background, he's sitting there and he's like, yeah, giving a thumbs up. Mac Jones is not going to be anything. Listen, you can say whatever you want to. So
Good. He has a good career ahead of him.
yeah, he's
I don't
got
know about
something.
Trevor Lawrence, just because they had an off season and he had one big game at the end of last year, what does it mean a guy's going to take off in his second year? When's he going to get better? He's got to get. He played a full season. So Trevor Lawrence will be a good NFL quarterback. I could say that. But a generational talent, the way they were making him out to be, the best QB out of college since Peyton Manning, I'm a little nervous there.
Well,
I get that.
This year's quarterback class is head and shoulders above last year's quarterback class. And the only thing I can say, maybe that will make Jack feel better, which he's a Jet fan, so I don't know how I'm going to do that. The only thing that might make him feel better is that the Jets are still playing at Giants Stadium. That might be the only thing. So.
Right.
That's the only
Yeah.
thing. They playing in that Giants Stadium. That's the super of the day right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and exactly. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what New York team is playing there. They all lose. So
Right.
uh,
Wait.
that being said, Byron, thank you very much for joining us today. I know that you got to get out of here and get moving on your day. But like I said, I'm sending that tape into the league. We should be able to get your nomination for the president of the NFLPA here within a couple of weeks. So
You guys are the best. I thank you guys. Have a great week. Ian.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Byron, have a great one.
Okay.
And we're back real quick. Right after this quick commercial break, we'll have Keith Engel, who's all excited about the way Jack was talking about Mac Jones and not Bobby Hoyer or Bobby Hoying or whatever guy is, whoever it is the backup guy. Because I know
He
that
might
that's
not be the back by the
normally.
yell, but Mac Jones is under a lot of pressure. He slips it off Brian Hoyer's the Patriots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian Hoyer, Brian
Belichick
Hoying,
loves him.
whatever it is. Bobby
Yes.
Hoying is who I was thinking of. That's an old Eagles quarterback. But anyways, we'll be back right after these commercial messages with Keith Engel. Stay
Correct.
tuned.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride Experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders. while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
My baloney has a first name. It's O-S-C-A-R. My baloney has a second name. It's M-A-Y-E-R. Oh, I love to eat it every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with B-O-L-O-G-N-A.
Oscar Mayer, the first name in Bologna.
How's that? Mr. Green? Mr. Green?
Yeah.
You need any help?
Mm-mm.
I just want you to know, I think you're the best ever.
Yeah, sure.
Want my Coke? It's okay, you can have it.
No.
Really, you can have it.
Okay.
A Coke and a smile makes me feel good. Makes me feel nice.
Be around.
That's the way it should be. I like to see
Hey, kid.
the whole world smiling with me. Coca-Cola as life. Have a Coke and
Thanks, Mean Joe.
smile.
You know, one of the best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down it! I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Good seats, hey, buddy? He missed the tag! He missed the tag!
What's up, everybody? Philly Sports Guy here, and it's fantasy football season. And if you want me to announce your order of your draft, all you have to do is go to Cameo. Go ahead and look up the Philly Sports Guy and tell me who's in your draft, and I'll choose who goes first, who goes last, so that you don't have to worry about whether the commissioner's cheating and getting the first pick again this year. So reach out to the Philly Sports Guy on Cameo for not only fantasy football, but for all your messaging needs. I'll give you a shout out. I'll get happy birthday. I can say hello to the troops overseas or anything else you want to have messaged about. So reach out for the Philly Sports Guy on Cameo. And go Birds! Yeah!
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any...
And we are back to the Mac and Jack show. I turned that off. And as I said before, we're going to bring on Keith Engel from TGI Sports, who's all very excited that he got his other quarterback mentioned in the previous before the commercials, as I'm trying to get my words out right. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning, guys. Listen, so one real quick thing. Mac mentioned the Meadowlands and the Jets still playing in Giant Stadium. I don't know if we're actually calling it Giant Stadium, but for all intents and purposes, it is. I was at a concert there a couple weeks ago. My wife kept saying, why are there all these banners up here for the Giants championships, and there's just one little thing over here for the Jets?
Yeah, the impact of that Jet victory, when you talk about the biggest impact that a Super Bowl had on the NFL, there was none bigger than that.
I would agree. Let's remember it was 170 years ago, though, too. So
yes.
So and there obviously the Jets didn't win many AFL titles, correct?
One.
No, I mean it's too brutal to think about.
Didn't they beat the Chiefs and the Raiders for AFL title?
What happened?
They won one the year they went to the Super Bowl. They won the AFL championship. That was it.
Yeah, they beat the Raiders 27-23. Yeah. That was a classic game. That was a great game. But I mean the Jets. They had one year that they got off to a 10-1 start, and then they lose their last 5 regular season games, and then they lose their bye, and they get in the playoffs as a wild card, and they beat the Chiefs the first playoff game, and it looked like they straightened out, and they have a 10-point lead over the Cleveland Browns with a few minutes left, and they stop the Browns, but Mark Gastineau commits a roughing the pass, a pass, a penalty, and then the Browns, tie the game up, get 10 points in the last few minutes, Jets lose in overtime. Then there was that game playing in the AFC Championship game. They're beating the Broncos 9-0 at the half, and then the wheels fall off. And what could I say?
A great Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I don't remember any other Jets teams.
Listen, the Jets and the Patriots on 2 different positions as far as their fan base goes. I mean, if the Jets go 7-10 and show improvement, the fan base is going to be accepting of this season that they're trending in the right direction. That's all we're asking for. If we do better than that, great. If we go 9-8, super. And if we make the playoffs, we're over the moon. But if the Patriots hypothetically go 10-7 and get bumped in the first round of the playoffs like last year, which wouldn't be a bad year if you look at their team, they're going to be discontent. Right, Keith, and the Patriot fan base, they've got to get better, and they look like they're getting worse.
Yeah, well, it is. I think it's important they win a playoff game this year for sure. I mean, I don't think winning a Super Bowl is imperative, and I don't know that they're good enough to even be in that conversation. But going 7-10 would be a disaster, and it's possible they could do that. It's possible if they don't straighten out, some of the issues they have. The cornerback situation is a nightmare. We all know the offense is struggling. I'll be interested to see how they do. I think they play tonight. I'll try to catch a little bit of that game somewhere. I'll find a way to stream it a little bit. The third week is where you can get a little gauge.
Guys, Carlos just put something about the Jets, but it could apply to any team. He says they'll finish something in the bottom 5 and blow another quarterback pick.
I don't think so.
Think of a team, hypothetically, any team. It could be the Chicago Bears, even with Justin Fields. Let's say you drafted a QB high, and he's not showing you much for a couple of years, and you're in a great position to draft a blue-chip college quarterback. Do you just cut your losses and go for that quarterback? Or what? Or do you keep sticking with your guy? I mean, what do you do?
It depends on the situation. I mean, if Zach Wilson really stinks it up this year, then maybe. That's the only way they're going to finish in the bottom 5 is Zach Wilson makes no progress at all in my mind. I think Zach Wilson will make some progress, and I do think this team will be 7-10, 8-9. I think they've got a shot of being around there. Carlos is, typical Jet fan who's, always the worst. The sky's falling all the time.
Just like Red Sox fans, they love to play the lure, the losers.
Yeah. Sign Lamar Jackson, move forward. Well, there you go.
I got a one. Pax with Max says Mac loves Minshew. He loves Minshew. He loves his attitude. So I think as soon as Jalen Hurts is so-so, if Mac were the coach of the Eagles, he would yank Jalen Hurts as soon as he filed up and Minshew is in.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts is walking a tightrope with Coach Mac. I got to tell you, Mac will probably start Jalen Hurts, but he better not slip up at all.
Yes,
Minshew's Mac's type of quarterback.
Minshew's a great guy. Pags, you can speak to this obviously. Minshew's a great guy to have on your team as a backup for a spark when you need him for a game or 2 games, maybe even 3. But if he's got to play more than that, this team's going to be in big trouble.
I agree 100%. The problem I see with Minshew, amongst everything else, is like he's got some of the intangibles that a good quarterback has. He's just a little goofy, and I don't know how that sells in a locker room. Now, I when he won that game against the Jets and he was all excited and you saw him, hugging his father and stuff like that after the game and such, you kind of get excited for him because he's excited that he just won an NFL game. It was the first time he's won a game since whatever. And, he's got that level of excitement. And then he goes into the coach and he's like, hey, when's the next time I'm going to get to start? And they're like, yeah, you're not going to. You know what I mean? And it's, then he immediately comes back down to earth. He's got a little about him. Like when you see them talking in the locker room and he's sitting there and he's doing the whole, a la like Beavis and Butthead. I don't know how that really transcends throughout a locker room. I like the excitement. I think it's a little childish sometimes. And I think that these are adults and sometimes that they're like, knock it off, goofball.
He's a folk hero that, fans like to latch onto. The Fu Manchu. Is he still rocking the Fu Manchu this year? I'm not sure.
I'm sure. I haven't seen him, but I'm sure he's
he's a cult figure, and that's all. He's never going to be a top-notch NFL quarterback, and fans need to realize that. And it's funny because NFL fans, being a Patriot fan for years before Tom Brady came here, before Drew Bledsoe came here, they wanted whoever was not playing. Didn't matter who the starting quarterback was. We wanted the guy that wasn't playing. Of course, not me, fans in general. So they're very fickle when it comes to their quarterbacks. It doesn't matter who's on the bench, unless it's Brian Hoyer, actually. But
who's the best backup quarterback in the NFL? No one ever addresses a question like that.
Now?
Could Minshew be the best backup quarterback? No, I think as long as Garoppolo's with the 49ers, either he or Trey Lance would be considered, I would think, the best backup. I'm doing this off the top of my head.
I am too, and I can't think
of Bridgewater with the Dolphins behind Tua. Maybe that is a viable
if he wasn't starting, I might give you Jacoby Brissett, actually, but he's starting, so.
Yeah, right now, yes. You consider him a starter. Sam Darnold would be the best backup, arguably. That's a good question. Best backup quarterback in the NFL. Could it be Brian Hoyer?
If for carrying a clipboard, yes, he's awesome. But if he has to actually play, no, the argument falls.
No, you guys don't get it.
Listen, he's been very well rested since he's only played 6 plays in 10 years.
He was a Cleveland Brown. He beat out Johnny Manziel, Brian Hoyer, when he was with Cleveland.
Who the heck is Johnny Manziel, for crying out loud? Jeez, seriously? Right. That's his biggest claim to fame? Where's Johnny Manziel these days?
That's heartbreaking in a sense, in all seriousness, because Nick Saban was very high on Johnny Manziel in college. He thought he could be a top NFL quarterback. And Johnny Manziel, I hate to say threw it away. I hope he's happy with his life. If Johnny Manziel is living a productive life and he's very happy going forward.
He was in Vegas almost every weekend partying.
That's it.
They knew where he was. Yeah.
I can see him going the Lenny Dykstra road here at some point, getting in trouble with for all kinds of different schemes later on.
Hey. Lenny Dykstra has just celebrated his 2-month anniversary of not getting arrested.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. Congratulations.
If you don't think I don't know, like I said, I got him on speed dial.
Do you get a chip or something like that? Listen,
he goes ahead and puts it all up on Twitter, so he gets all of the accolades and that he gets from that. Yeah. Because the moment that he puts something up there like that, the first person that comes to mind is Ray Didinger, who says, "Hey, does that mean that you can pay me the money that you owe me for writing your book?"
Do you think, in the workplace where we've had 300, I'm sorry, you said 2 years. So let's just say 750 days without an injury in the workplace. Does he have like that in his kitchen where he rips it off and says, we have 700 days without getting arrested now?
He would do month countdowns.
Yeah.
He does month countdowns, so that's how I know that it's been 2 years and 2 months because it's, I could do some math. 26 months.
Good job.
Yeah, so I mean that's a big deal. Hey, listen, when you're in trouble all the time, unfortunately, trouble seems to find you. So the fact that he's been able to do this, can I say he's turning his life around? Probably not. But he's doing the best that he can. Obviously he's not somebody who's going to represent the Major League Baseball in any good way possible, but he can only live his best life that he knows how.
And he is in all fairness, he's a different story than Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel is more like, a Ryan Leaf story, right? Where these guys just get too much too soon and they don't know how to handle it. And I think that's a big thing in the NFL more than maybe the NBA too. They get too much too soon and don't have anybody giving them guidance to help them down the road of success.
Keith, we were talking again about, flag football game up here in Connecticut with Jim Jeffcoat and Byron Williams being the coaches. I'll be playing against the best NFL players out there, along with Jack and of course Pags.
Jack will be.
I didn't know I was signed up for a game until this show. I mean, was it drafted or what? Do I have a choice in my team?
You gotta check the contract, Jack. Always check the contract. So yeah, we're gonna be up here in, I think, Connecticut, probably the Enfield High School, where this game will go on, hopefully under the lights. Even, I mean, let's go all the way, right? So, you got Terrell Owens, and they're talking about Darryl Green and all these great players that we're going to match up against, and I think we'll do pretty well against them too.
I wasn't invited, Jack, so I
don't know. I mean, I got a lot of stuff, a busy schedule, but if you get Darryl Green and Terrell Owens, I'm going to make it a priority to be there, man.
I think you should play this on January 20th, as cold and as snowy as you can get there in Connecticut.
Exactly. Any edge we can get, I'm for it. All right, Pags?
Hey, listen, so I play football every Thanksgiving Day, and I still am always in the top 5 of the MVP voting of the game. So ultimately, I still got it, especially against my competition. So I'm looking to.
Game or is it 3-on-3 game or what is it?
Most of the time we go 9-on-9.
Right. Oh, that's impressive.
We don't have a full 11, but we do have like 9 and a couple of people that come in and maybe 8-on-8 or 7-on-7, just so that we can, because as we get older, we get a lot more tired and winded. So, but
the game's
right? More subs. You get more subs then. Yeah.
That's exactly correct. But I am able to converge. I'm able to converge on that throw, and I'm able to either intercept it or knock it out of their hands. I have that. Still that ability. And as we're talking about fantasy football, our flag football here, they're actually doing that in our area as well. They have G Cobb. G Cobb is going to be coaching the one team, and Hank Hollis Tank Thomas is going to be coaching the other team. So as a couple of, we'll have ours down here, and then we'll play the winner of what happens up in Connecticut, and we could have the Super Bowl of celebrity flag football.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, Keith, what position will you play?
Any position, I can be the holder on kicks or something. That'd be great.
I see you as a center, middle linebacker, two-way player.
Middle linebacker. As long as guys run right at me, I got a shot at getting them, I think.
That's why our ratings have been down. You think any of the listeners want to hear this stuff? So we're rambling on about ourselves.
Listen, in our Thanksgiving game,
athletes here.
In our Thanksgiving game, I play quarterback, and I've been wearing a red jersey since I was probably Pag's age. And now, as I get older, I wear a red jersey, a red hat, red gloves, red pants. I don't want anybody hitting me.
Right. What do you think of the Aaron Donald situation? Should the league just leave it alone because it was a scrimmage? It didn't happen during a game. So what do you think?
I think they'll give him some kind of menial penalty. I don't think it'll be anything greater.
A fine. How about this? How about a $50,000 fine because he signed just a new deal?
It'll be a fine. Yeah, he's going to get some kind of fine, most likely.
Jack's been talking about this all day. We've already come to an agreement that Aaron Donald should be out for the whole year. That's it.
Oh well.
I don't think a whole year, but I think definitely 6 games. or at least 4 because you've set the precedent. If you're going to swing a helmet, it's an automatic 4-game suspension. I think that should be automatic. Like I said, if you're going to care about player safety, you have to do that without question.
Yeah.
You've had the Q-tips on these guys' heads, and now you got a player, and I don't care how prestigious that player is, swinging a helmet at guys' heads. You gotta set a precedent there that it doesn't matter who it is. If you're going to swing a helmet, practice, game, wherever, you're going to get suspended for 4 games. That's end of story.
I probably don't disagree, but I don't think he'll get any games.
Well, he's a Super Bowl MVP, so they should give him some slack.
If he did in a game, he definitely gets suspended, as you said. But I think, and again, I'm not saying he should be given any special consideration at all, but I think he will.
And Carlos is saying, hey, that deal to be able to get new gloves because that grip over there was great on that helmet. You could also say that he's going to get a baseball contract because of the way he was swinging and connecting with that, just swinging the helmet.
Great point. So
well done.
Yeah. Listen, again, back to the flag football game real quick. We have, we'll have our drills set up before the game. We'll work on them all week. We call them game drills, right? What your job is during certain play, and I'm not scared of Terrell Owens. I ain't scared of Terrell Owens at all. So
all you got to do is bump him on the line. That's all it is. Just get him bumped on the line. You throw all of his timing off. That's the end of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not concerned about that either.
I'll be the guy that helps Jack up when they get him off the bottom of the pile. That's what my job will be.
He's back to Brian Hoyer. If he was with the Seahawks and part of that quarterback competition with Geno Smith and Drew Lock, who would you give the starting job to?
I think I would just, if I was a coach, I'd quit. If that were my choices. So.
That's Steve Carroll. I mean,
yeah.
See, Carlos is getting even the wrong stuff. It was not a 4.8. It was a.
I didn't know you could run on Twitter. I thought it was like a streaming thing. I didn't know you could get on there and run.
Yeah, but they showed it on Twitter is what he's kind of getting at. What he's alluding to, because Twitter is faster than everything else.
And listen, I wasn't impressed at all. I mean, 4.8. I run a 4.58. So I'd beat him anyway.
4 minutes and 58 seconds to go 40 yards is definitely not exciting.
I can't
know
drive my
turtles
car.
that move faster.
I can't drive my car for 40 yards in 4.8 seconds, so I'm not competing in this.
Okay.
Guys, talk about someone who could run quick. Do you think Saquon Barkley, if he stays healthy, is going to be the NFL comeback player of the year if he stays healthy?
I do. I've said on a lot of shows that I've been on that I think Saquon Barkley will have a really good year this year, assuming the line plays well, he stays healthy, because it takes a year sometimes to come back from some of this type of injury, health-wise and confidence-wise. And I think the confidence is there. You see, he's got some swagger right now, if you saw his comments the other day. And swagger, doesn't necessarily turn into performance, but I think it will in this case. I don't think he'll be the dynamic player that he was, but I think he'll be a very, very good player and have a good year this year for the Giants.
I agree. I definitely agree with
Giants have to make a decision whether to sign him to the long-term deal or not. It's based on what he does this year. So this is absolutely crunch time. Same with Daniel Jones. They've got to make a decision going forward whether he's going to be their guy or not.
Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos. Get Lamar Jackson for Barkley.
Yeah, Carlos is really, too much of that funny stuff today there, Carlos.
He's drinking early in the morning here today, I think.
Yeah, it's like you can't be smoking that stuff here on this show. We are our wholesome family show here.
Yeah, we are. Just like the wall.
So speaking of which, though, so you bring up a good thing here, and maybe we should kind of talk about that. Who else would be in the running for comeback player of the year this year? Would Russell Wilson, if he was to do really well, fall into that category?
I don't think he played bad enough to be in consideration for that, though. I'm trying to think of somebody who who didn't play well or was out with injury last year. Nobody's striking me quickly. I'm looking.
Does he have to have a bad year? Could it be a guy like Teddy Bridgewater if he somehow replaces Tua and takes the Dallas to the playoffs? I mean, he didn't have a bad year per se, but someone who's been under the radar, like he didn't play that much the year before. He wasn't good with Denver, really.
Yeah.
So it could be yeah.
If he were to get playing time, he could possibly be in. But again, playing time, he's not guaranteed anything, so you can't really.
Well, you had to have been there in the first place. I'd say Geno Smith, if he had a big year with Seattle, which I doubt he would have, but he hasn't been there to begin with to be comeback play of the year. What about Robert Woods with Tennessee? He was injured.
Maybe.
Missed, the second half, whatever the season, and he didn't play in this playoffs and Super Bowl with the Rams.
Or Julio Jones, same predicament.
Julio Jones, yeah.
You don't
Julio
get comeback.
Jones, McCaffrey.
How about Baker Mayfield?
Baker Mayfield, yes, yeah.
OBJ too, right? You have to consider him.
Well, OBJ kind of came back, caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So, he wasn't.
Yeah, and it depends on how many games he actually plays.
Yeah.
You got to play this year is kind of where that.
Yeah,
Barkley
would be certainly a consideration. I'm trying to think of some other guy. I'm looking at the teams now.
Would Lamar Jackson be considered one?
No, he had to be good to begin with. Just because the guy was, I mean, he had to be out of. Well, Lamar Jackson had some big moments last year, early in the year.
But he was hurt, and then he didn't play toward the end of the season.
That's true.
Yeah, possibly, but I don't think he quite falls into it.
Yeah, I think he played enough that you wouldn't probably get that kind of consideration. Probably.
Could it possibly be Deshaun Watson?
They'll never both. He's missing too many games.
Yeah, that's really not an injury, right?
I don't think there's any way.
Ezekiel Elliott, possibly.
Good one.
Even though he didn't play that badly last year.
It's not bad.
No, you're getting a big vote from Carlos here.
Joe
Flacco. He has a big year with the Jets. Yeah, absolutely. But he's not having a big year with the Jets.
If Joe Flacco is their quarterback, they are not making the progress we talked about earlier.
Joe Flacco is their quarterback. We're going 4-13 again.
Well,
listen, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but what about Jameis Winston in New Orleans?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one.
Yeah, if he gets his eyes checked, maybe, and can throw a pass,
Listen, I've been bashing this guy, but I looked at his numbers. When he got hurt last year, he'd thrown 14 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and the team had played very well. So
I think it's receiver Michael Thomas, if he comes back, who's been in, it seems
that's a good one.
Have been injured forever.
That's a very good one. Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go. So there is some people on this list.
Sammy Watkins with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers will set him up for such an award.
Because he loves those wide receivers out there.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I remember him talking about how great those wide receivers have been playing in camp.
Just recently, yeah.
He didn't mean Sammy Watkins. He meant the new guys, the rookies.
Because
didn't get it.
Sammy's
I don't mean you, idiot. I mean those other idiots. That's what I was talking about. I tell you, this is I think that again, I don't think Rodgers even wins the division over there. I think that Minnesota wins it in spite of Kirk Cousins, and of course he'll kill.
Tom Brady retired. Don't forget. I mean, if he could be the comeback player of the year.
No, he didn't have a bad year last year.
He retired though. He came out of retirement this year.
It's what he did last. It's performance beforehand.
I'm being sarcastic, by the way, Jack.
I mean, the only way you give a guy like if Terrell Owens was allowed back and miraculously some crazy owner allowed him back in, and he actually was somewhat productive, then that would make sense.
I told you he's going up against me during the flag football game, and I will expose him to the whole NFL. So I don't think he's coming back.
What are we talking about here?
Marcus Mariota with the Falcons.
That's a good one too. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
If
Derrick
he's
Henry, I
starting.
don't think you could include in that. He was hurt, but he was good while he played. Except the playoffs, he wasn't the same.
Yeah, I don't know that he was gone long enough to consider
No.
comeback player of the year. Like McCaffrey would fall into that category more.
Yeah, I
But
think
not-
so.
but
I don't know
not,
how much he played last year, but
Has anything
McCaffrey I think
happened-
he only played 6 games, didn't
was
he?
that little? Okay, yeah.
Guys, Alvin Kamara, he had an ugly incident out in Las Vegas where a guy was beaten to a pulp.
Yeah.
And the NFL was supposedly investigating with everything with Deshaun Watson. No one talks about it. Is he allowed to start the season? It just because it's not in the news. That's what the NFL is a PR machine. If it's not in the news, they want to minimize it. They hope everyone forgets about it and they can move forward.
I don't
But
think
are
you're
they
gonna forget
doing
about
anything
Deshaun
about the
Watson,
Alvin Kamara situation? Are they looking into it? He's
I have heard nothing about any kind of investigation or possible suspension. He's certainly playing in training camp, and he's listed as their number 1 back. So there's nothing on the horizon.
Yeah, and it says that he's, as of June 23rd, which is a while ago, he says Alvin Kamara braces for suspension of at least 6 weeks eventually.
Interesting.
So that was.
And no news since then. That's weird.
Keith, this report that supposedly it could be bogus that came out with Brady and I wanted to be with the Raiders, but not exactly addressing that. I mean, Pax thinks it's all a Dana White thing. He had one day having too many drinks. But
So
what kind of job is Josh McDaniel, you think, going to do with the Raiders? Because you got to view him all those years, with New England, and this is his second go-round.
Yeah.
And Belichick was wildly successful in his second go-round as a head coach. Is McDaniels really going to make a big impact on the Raiders, who were a playoff team last year? They never should have moved on from the interim coach, Rick Bisaccia. They had a good thing going. The players loved him.
Yeah, a lot of the Raider fans were unhappy they let Bisaccia go for sure. I think he's in Jacksonville now, if I'm not mistaken, as an assistant coach.
Peterson, yeah.
But I think McDaniel. I think he'll do all right. He's got a couple of factors. He's got a quarterback now, who maybe hasn't had a great playoff success, but he's got a quarterback that he can work with that he didn't have in Denver. He's not the guy calling all the shots like he was in Denver, which was a huge mistake for the Broncos to give him that type of power. Plus, it does take guys sometimes one job to figure this thing out. And hopefully he learned a lesson from Bill Belichick's first time around, which was as bad or worse maybe than even McDaniel's time in Denver. So I think there's a chance that he can have a huge impact on this team. If he's learned from his first efforts. And if not, he'll be coaching the Patriots offense again in 2 years.
Right?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. He always has a job waiting for him in New England as long as one of the Belichicks is there. Because I got to believe Bill has it lined up for Stevie. As long as Bill has the authority, he's keeping everyone kind of at an arm's distance. Family comes first. Listen, it happened with my Jets ages ago with the great Weeb Eubank, who no one calls one of the greatest coaches ever, even though he has 3 championships as credit. He had a loyal assistant, Walt Michaels, who eventually got the job. Great defensive coordinator, but instead he gave the job to Charlie Winner, his son-in-law. Had coached the St. Louis Cardinals.
We talked about this.
We did talk about it, but that was a family thing. Even with the Eagles, didn't Dick Vermeil have his son-in-law, his nephew, returning kicks? I forgot his name. But he had his nephew, Dick Vermeil, with the Eagles returning kicks. And even Dick Vermeil was hinting that his nephew maybe should retire. But because he's a close family man, he did it, for sister, his nephew. He kept him on the squad.
I don't remember that story, but...
Yeah, me neither. I don't remember.
Yeah, you
that.
can look it up. Dick Vermeil had his nephew, I forgot his name, as a kick return, and he was quite average.
I have to check into that. I mean, I know he's a guy who brought Vince, what's his name?
Papali.
Papali into the league, which was a great story. I've seen it. And
no, I'm not necessarily against families. Tom Coughlin had his son-in-law, Chris Snee, on the offensive line. Anyone would love Chris Snee on the offensive line. That was a no-brainer.
Right.
I don't think Belichick can get away, or he's going to be in a position to wield the type of nepotism that we're talking about of just anointing his son the head coach with a little bit of experience he's got. Unless he coaches another 10 years, and Steve's got all kinds of experience, I don't see it happening. I really don't.
Allow it to happen. That's the question. I get the feeling the Krafts are not going to give Bill Belichick that type of power. And I get the feeling if Bill Belichick really has a terrible year this year, let's say, and it's conceivable, let's say the Patriots saw a mini disaster, they go 5-12. I think Bill Belichick could very well lose his job. They'll sit down with them and maybe, offer him a financial package as an advisor that you're always going to have a job here, blah, blah, blah. And I think they might move him out maybe.
I still think he'll stay there until he wants to go, and he's not going to want to go until he wins a Super Bowl without Tom Brady. And so it might take a long time, unless the bottom totally falls out, Jack.
Let me tell you something. If Stevie Belichick ever took over as head coach, you got to believe Bill Belichick is very actively involved with that team. And Stevie reportedly is close with his dad. So he wouldn't look at that as interference. He would welcome his dad's input. Okay, so Bill Belichick would still have his fingerprints all over the New England Patriots. And it would be a Belichick. They win a Super Bowl with Steve Belichick and Bill behind the scenes. Bill would be given a lot of the credit.
Sure.
Well, and Bill Belichick was just in the news because he just won a UFC belt.
Yeah, I saw that.
He looked good in that belt, didn't he?
Yeah,
it looked like he needed something to hold up his pants.
Yes.
I got a belt roughly that size myself.
Hey, it's promotion, right? It's promotion.
And again, that was the whole Dana White was in there. I wonder if they were talking about any deals that could be made with Raiders.
How did Dana White become so ingrained in the NFL subculture? I don't understand this. Dana White's just a blowhard. I'm not buying this old Raiders story either myself, Pegs. I think it's
I think that the credence is, he's talking about how he was able to broker a deal. I mean, we all know that the Raiders are his team. I think that they were drinking, like I said, put Dana White and Gronk and Brady in a room together after a UFC fight, and they're sitting there and they're throwing back some beers. I mean, I gotta imagine Gronk is kind of running the whole conversation for the most part, and then they're talking about fantasy land, saying, "Hey, what team you guys want to go to? I bet you I can get you guys on the Raiders." Blah blah blah. And because you're Dana White, you happen to have, and you're a Raiders fan, you get John Gruden's number on speed dial. Because I got to imagine they've talked before, and anytime John Gruden wanted to go to a UFC fight, he would get front row seats because he's John Gruden, and Dana White's the one in charge of that all. So I got to imagine they had him on speed dial. They call him up. They're having fun. They're talking and just yucking it up. And then he's like, "All right, guys, I got to talk to you later. I got to go to sleep, or I've got a girl over here I got to take care of," or what have you. I mean, I got to imagine it went something very similar to that, where he was going he's embellishing the story by saying, "I had it all brokered. It was all brokered when they were about to go to Vegas."
And the part that Brady was really ticked off that the whole thing fell apart, which I doubt as well, by the way. Right. I doubt the veracity of that because it's come from Dana White. And by the way, if they were doing what you said, Brady would have had, half a Mick Ultra and been totally wasted and wouldn't remember any of the conversation anyway.
Yeah.
He at least had 3 shots. He had 3 shots of tequila and needed to be walked off the boat.
I love that video. I love that video when he's throwing the trophy and he drops it and they're grabbing him and they're trying to run him off the boat like I don't know. But that was an incredible video to watch.
Yeah, because he had a Mick Ultra before he went out there and couldn't handle himself anymore. That's what happens when you eat bamboo and don't drink coffee. And
Hey, you know what? I didn't need to be there. I was the fly on the wall. You know, like I said, that was part of. And I just know I can read between the lines. That's what it is. It's like that was a fly on the wall story, very similar. Like I know Carlos, you didn't watch our show yesterday, but I opened up a whole big can of worms between Miami Dolphins ownership and New England Patriots ownership.
Yes, you
I
did.
broke the veil of stuff that's going on behind the scenes there.
Shocked even me.
Yeah.
Like I said, when you put that timeline together, it's a little too convenient that all these things happened one after another, after another, after another.
No, it's a
So-
merry-go-round. No one talks about Daniel Snyder anymore, but he's going to resurface.
And not
Where
too
is he
soon,
now?
obviously. Yeah, obviously he's gonna come back in and he's gonna talk about, because obviously they have kept this quiet now. It has, after he testified, that you haven't heard word one
Nope.
about anything that's going on. So that'll come back around. That'll be cyclical. Yeah, they have to take care of all the.
We need more
Oh,
owners
they
like
bring
Jerry Jones. You know,
Yeah.
they're smooth. They give good interviews, and
Build,
Yeah,
build.
and
Uh,
out of all
memorials
the
and
things
stuff.
that you had to mention, Jerry Jones is like the one owner that trolls me. He trolls me every time. Like anytime Philly's in the mix, he puts my picture on the website. They use me. He, like I said, he sends things down to True Blue, you know, specifically from the owner's box. When you have two security guards bringing down a game day magazine, and it says compliments of Mr. Jones. That means I'm gaining some attention. I'm on his radar.
well, you know, maybe he's using it to motivate his team.
There's something. He needs whatever he can to motivate him. But unfortunately, I'm not there for playoff games because they seem to stink for that. So I guess I'm not that motivating for them.
You know, we're going to have to make our predictions next week. Keith, I hope you're ready. Not this Sunday, I think the following Sunday, right, Mac?
Yes.
We're going to have to make our final football predictions. You're going to have to be ready, Keith. You can't hem and haw about possibilities. You're
I
gonna have
don't
to
hem and haw. I will give you.
your prediction.
I will give you solid.
I'm anxious to see where you put the Pats in that division.
I haven't decided yet.
And as you see, Jack will sit there and debate with himself as we try to push on in the show. So.
I do hear, though, just a rumor, I don't know if Pags is it confirmed, that Keith is planning on picking the Cowboys to win the NFC East. I just hear that. I don't know. I can't confirm it yet.
I gotta tell you, I think it's much more interesting that Pags is flying a wall in a strip club or wherever they were partying than you being flying a wall in my office here, Jack. It's probably boring as hell for you.
That fly's got to have some really big glasses.
Yes.
Right. So that you can see how to get out of that place. But I tell you, the entertainment value that you get on this show, even on slow sports days, comes through here when you put the four of us together. Yeah, this is.
Wait a second. Okay, wait. You know, we haven't really talked baseball, Keith. The Yankees now, all of a sudden, I'm looking bad. They've won 4 in a row.
You are looking awful.
Under the radar, everyone's thinking they're doing so terribly, and now a few days go by, 4 wins in a row. Stanton returns, won 13-4 yesterday over the
But
A's.
listen. If you were to lose any games to the Athletics, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
No, not at all. And guys, here is the Yankee Press Pass card that I am holding back. You see the insignias on it?
How about that?
That's the card that Jack and Keith are
Not to be confused with the Confederate press card, you know, because the Confederates are no longer viable. Yeah, you can't really do any reporting on that. You
I
know,
don't
the
think
Yankees,
you say Confederate. I think you just offended a whole segment of people with saying Confederate.
No, I went last week, guys.
Listen, it won't be long before the Yankees have to change their name anyway. That's probably offensive to a whole bunch of people too.
What are they going to change it to? Back to the old name? What is that?
The Highlanders.
Yes, of course. That was. the hockey team too. Yeah, that's what we're going to change.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't they just call them the Doodle Dandies? that's perfect for them.
Yeah, Jimmy Durante running across the stage right now. Thanks.
Guys, I went to a Brooklyn Cyclone game, a minor league affiliate of the Mets last Sunday, and the stadium was half empty. And I'm thinking a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Tickets are only $15 for a good seat, only $8 to park your car. I mean, that's a bargain. Why on a Sunday afternoon you go to Coney Island? It didn't sell out. But I went with my friend to the world's famous Nathan's where they have the hot dog contest. And Nathan's is just down the block from the Cyclone Stadium. I don't know whether you guys have ever been there, but the problem is it was packed and you couldn't get a seat.
I have been there to watch it.
We got imitation Nathan's. We walked we went into the stadium and we ordered the hot dog that said Nathan's hot dog in the stadium, but somehow it's not the same as getting it directly from Nathan's.
It's a cool little stadium. I've been down there to see Valley Cats, the Tri-Valley Valley Cats who play up here. They play in the same. They used to play in the same league as the Cyclones. Yeah. And Howard Johnson was a manager there actually then. I think Wally Backman's there now, isn't he, or not?
No, he's with the Long Island Ducks.
Oh, Long Island Ducks, right.
Long Island Duck game earlier this year, too.
Right.
We had the Tri-Valley Cats. Mac and myself had on a guest a while ago, Eric Bellier. He's a broadcaster for them and does PR work.
Yeah.
And, it's a good stop of that. The pitcher the Mets drafted who opted out, Rocca, he pitched for them for a little bit. You actually get to see some quality players, some future major leaguers, in these games. So.
It's good baseball. They got a fun facility up there. They do some fun stuff during the games. The manager now is somebody that Pags would recognize, and Pete Incaviglia is the manager there the last couple of years. And they play in the Frontier League now. They're an independent league. They got dropped. They were affiliate of the Astros for like 2 decades, and they got dropped this last year.
When everybody dropped their teams, and then they just got picked back up again.
Yeah,
on a move by Major League Baseball just to get rid of some of these excess teams.
It's kind of cool. You go to these games and yet I sat next to John Matlack one night. You remember, if you're a Met fan of a certain age, you remember John Matlack pitching for the Mets. Sat next to him. He was an executive with the Astros at the time, doing a little scouting. And
I was going to say, wasn't he a lawyer on a television show?
That was Matt Locke.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Let me tell you, when I went to the Long Island Duck game, I didn't even realize it in the beginning. My seat was back against a wall, and right behind me was the broadcast crew broadcasting the Long Island Duck game. The Ducks have this player, 48 years old. He's a combination player, hitting coach, Lou Ford, who was a major leaguer like about 18 years ago. The darn guy can still hit. I bet he could hit major league pitching. So it's funny. His name's Lou. He gets up there, and there are no people really around me. I'm there with my son-in-law, and I decided I'm going, Lou. And then I realize I'm sitting right in front of the broadcasters, and they're like looking at me like, who's this old idiot who's like making these noises? And I'm thinking, if they only knew who the guy was, I'm a guy of substance in the sports world. No idea. Yeah. But
thanks.
Shows you never know.
Is there a practical joke being played on me, and I've been invited live to a rerun? Because I feel like
you have to have a little fun at the game.
No, you know what? That's a sign of senility when they start repeating the same story over and over and over again.
If you had your Mac and Jack, if you had your Mac and Jack shirt on, Jack, with your ID, then they would have took you seriously. I mean, then you could have, called the shots.
I was thinking of inviting them on the show, but then, they looked at me when I was giving the noise. I mean, why can Pax do it and get away with it? Because he paints himself up. But I'm dressed normal, and I'm looked at as some type of nut to the people.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
It depends on the shirt that you're wearing. If you're wearing one of those Hawaiian shirts, then absolutely they think that you left the funny farm. So
I don't remember what I had on. I mean,
yeah, see, there you go. See, so it's probably that was probably the reason that you just they were like, he just escaped from the state mental hospital. We'll just let him go because if you don't do eye contact, you're safe.
Yes.
Now, there is another possibility that it was out of deference because they know who you are, Jack. They know that you're a famous Hall of Fame boxing writer, and they felt funny approaching you. And, maybe that's all it was.
Yeah, this is baseball, not boxing, and they felt maybe that if
this is baseball. I'm nothing at all in baseball. I'm like a speck of dust in the air. Case in point, I remember years ago, I went to the Lennox Lewis Michael Grant fight at Madison Square Garden. Ringside seats were 1,500. My seat in the press section was better than those seats. I was ahead of them. The next day, I'm going to buy Met tickets. Okay, this is when Shea Stadium was still up. And I'm on this long line in the back of the line, waiting an hour and a half for Met Yankee tickets online, like an absolute, totally obscure to just get my seats on the ticket line.
Amazing. I will say this about Jack, and I'll give you a little shameless plug for the Glove Fish show. I produced it this Monday night, and these guys, you and Frank were tremendous Monday night. I was enthralled with your conversation. Frank commented on it when you guys were done, Jack. You guys were just hot all over it Monday night. So anybody hasn't watched that show, go back and watch it. It was great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I thought we were like a little wild with our blows. We were like two fighters.
It was great.
Slugging it out. I thought maybe we were unpolished at times. So it made for an exciting fight.
That was
great insights into the sport. No one has better insights than Frank.
Yeah. In fact, guys go to his Facebook page or our Facebook page, and he's listed with some of the articles he writes. And this guy knows what he's talking about.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I know the business end of the thing. I take a lot of pleasure when ESPN reported 10 weeks ago that Terrence Crawford and Errol Spencer fighting. It's like it was a done deal, and Jeff Code is reporting it to me. I said, they're not fighting. Don't listen to what ESPN is saying. My sources, better than ESPN's because they really are. Because I can make the call and they won't lie. They won't lie to me. They'll tell me exactly what it is, knowing I'm going to keep it to myself.
You just shared it here, didn't you?
You don't. Yeah.
No. It went. No, I can say it's not happening. I'm not going to say why it's not happening. There's always a chance it could happen. Anything can happen in boxing if someone is going to give in. Any fight can be made if you're going to eventually give in. Right. It's like negotiating a contract in sports. A player wants all this money, he's not signing. Eventually he gives it. Like even Kevin Durant with the Nets, he eventually gave in. It wasn't going anywhere. So he said, I'm coming back with the Nets. I got to close this deal. And the mystery of whether he was going to return came to an end. There's always a possibility Crawford and Spence will fight. And even if they do eventually sign, it took forever after the ESPN report, meaning it was far from a done deal when it was announced.
Man, I got to tell you, after this hour, I'm considering relinquishing the show, the name of my Sunday show, the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, to this show. I think this has definitely been an hour of Stream of Consciousness conversation, which has been fun, by the way. But
yeah, I don't know if it's a stream of conscious because I feel like I am absolutely unconscious right now. So.
I mean, the last thing I'm going to say, Stephen A. is coming up with a new show, a non-sports show. I might watch his non-sports show because I haven't been watching his sports show lately.
Well, I know he absolutely watches my show because he does verbatim some of the things that come out of my mouth. So I know that they watch my show. At least his writers do. So his writers can't come up with anything creative, so they watch me. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
Mad Dog watching me. So what have I got going for me?
Yeah, exactly. And Carlos has been smoking too much of that funny stuff as of late.
I'm Mad Dog watching you for real.
No, I'm kidding. I'm on the other side of that Stephen Smith argument. I got Mad Dog Russo watching my stuff. He loses every argument with Stephen A. I think.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, guys, this 2 hours has been up. You know, like we didn't have much sports to talk about, and we still made it through. So
Yes.
obviously, like I said, this type of entertainment you can't get anywhere else on the internet or on Roku. You can only get it here with Northeast Streaming Sports Network. So for Mac, Jack, and Keith, and Byron, who was on the show, I'm Jamie Pags. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
All right.